Good morning, Premier.
Good morning. Thanks for having me back.
Thank you for being with us. I want to start with serious matters because it's on the minds of, many people in our province right now. I want to know what you would like to say to Manitobans as the trial of serial killer Jeremy Skibicki continues and his defense argues not criminally responsible. What would you like to say as leader of this province?
Well, I always want to begin on this with compassion for the families and our deepest sympathies for their loss and for the terrible experience that they've been put through over the past few years. Our government is working to support them through this trial period. We know it's very difficult to hear the details, and I'd say the same note of sensitivity for your listeners. When we hear these sorts of reports, it's tough. I don't think any of us, look forward to these kind of updates, but I would just say that I think for the public to have confidence in the administration of justice, that's a paramount value for us in our democracy and in our society. So it is necessary that we have, the Crown making this case and that the defense have the opportunity to do their thing. But I really just want to indicate compassion to the families, a tone of understanding for the average person who finds these terrible details very disturbing as far as what's being alleged and or agreed to, as the case may be in various instances. But what I would also want to say is dignity for these women who were murdered. I think that we need to remember that each of these four women have and continue to inhabit a space of dignity. They are deserving of respect. They're deserving of value, and we should always remember that. And while the public court process plays out and the media is providing the updates, if we think about what the dignity of these women means to us, I do think that it means in other areas, such as how we respond to vulnerable people in our society, such as how we respond to homelessness, addictions, the ongoing social challenges that we face in our province. I think that keeping in mind the dignity of these four women who are taken away from their families and taken away from our community as a province of Manitoba, I do think it calls on us to act, and it is a very, very strong and stark reminder that we need to do a lot more to help people in vulnerable positions in Manitoba.
Thank you for that. 8:16, Premier Wab Kinew is here for our monthly interviews. So if you're a regular listener, you know we move from topic to topic. I want to ask you next for clarity around something that you recently said. So you announced Manitoba will receive hundreds of millions of dollars, maybe more, from a settlement with tobacco companies that will pay for the new cancer care building. You did say, though, you would find a way to fund that project either way. So it's not about the funding. But no other party involved in the lawsuit with Big Tobacco has talked about the settlement being imminent. What gives you the confidence that this will indeed be settled, and where did you get that information from?
Well, the biggest thing for me is just transparency. I think there's often situations where governments get access to new resources or sources of funds, and there's not often transparency about that. But to me, this is such an important public issue when we talk about cancer. I think we all have a story. We all have a personal experience, a parent, a child, tragically, friends, family, so many folks that we've missed out on spending time with. And I just think it's really important that Manitobans have confidence that when it comes to an issue as sacrosanct as and important as that there is going to be transparency and that there is going to be a commitment that we're going to use resources to fight cancer. And of course, a state-of-the-art facility where the best practitioners and physicians and researchers and nurses can work together to care for you, I think is an important initiative that we were already committed to, but we might be able to advance in new ways. But also talking about prevention, talking about how do we prevent the next generation from smoking? How do we have better diets? How do we ensure that future generations can be cancer-free? You know, these are things that I think it's important to start the conversation on. And I've been carefully watching, I guess, the letters to the editor in the newspaper of record, the commentary on your show and across other media, where Manitobans are engaging with the conversation of how do we make our society one where there's less and less cancer as we go forward into the future.
And while I appreciate that, and if you heard in the news this morning, you're being applauded by some for the transparency, but the question is, where's the information from? Because other provinces, Nova Scotia, Saskatchewan, said they can't comment because of ongoing litigation. And you made a very specific comment saying it's with the federal government right now. That was your quote. Can you elaborate on what you meant when you said that the settlement is, quote, with the federal government right now?
Well, I think that there's a process that's playing out, and I'm going to respect the nature of that process. But my commitment is to the people of Manitoba. And I think it's important for Manitobans when we come to decision points on big public policy issues, whether it's on the justice matter that we just spoke about, whether it's on cancer care that we're talking about now, we always have certain parameters of what we can talk about and when we can engage on those topics. But on an issue like this one, I don't think it's something that we should just expect Manitobans to hear about and then to have an immediate understanding on.
I'm just trying to understand, though, because the feds, I don't think we're involved in the court case at all.
Well, I want there to be time for the average Manitoban to engage with this topic and to talk about what is the mix of state-of-the-art cancer treatment. What are the prevention resources?
Can you tell us, though, if you spoke too soon on the funding? I'm just...
No.
You didn't?
No.
So you believe this funding is coming by the end of the year?
I'm talking about an important public policy issue to the people of Manitoba because I want you to have the opportunity to engage with it substantively. And I want you to have confidence that your government is being transparent in not only figuring out how we're going to allocate future resources, but also in engaging in a good faith manner with the experts in cancer care, with the voices in community, with the average person who's been impacted by this terrible illness. And if we can come together and have a substantive discussion, which I think is happening right now, people are talking about what the right mix is around prevention, treatment, clinician researchers, other important initiatives. To me, that's an important part of how we get to not only a best-in-class, world-class cancer treatment program where Manitobans can say we get the best cancer treatment here in the province, but also Manitobans can say it's one that reflects us and reflects our values.
I appreciate all of what you're saying. You're not really answering my question around the lawsuit
as
itself.
I said, we always have parameters around what we can discuss and when, but I think the most important thing is that as the leader of your government, I want there to be transparency and an important opportunity for Manitobans to engage with how do we want cancer care to look in the future of our province, and how do we want to allocate between the various priorities of preventing various forms of cancer in the future, treating those folks with the best-in-class treatment who are on their cancer journeys today, and then supporting other community and healthcare initiatives that help us to alleviate the needs of further, cancer patients in the future.
We're going to leave it there. Obviously, we'll move to another topic here, Premier. The NDP government in BC recently announced a new plan to generate more electricity. They're partnering with the private sector. So many provinces have these kinds of plans now. I know that you put Manitoba's new energy plan on the shelf, promising a new one. When are we going to see Manitoba's new energy policy? Can you commit to a timeline?
It's in development right now. In terms of public release later this year, but I think you can have confidence that document is in very good shape right now. And basically what it does, it says, here's the roadmap towards a net zero future for Manitoba in a way that's affordable for the average person, in a way that creates good paying blue collar, middle class jobs for the average person out there. And that's really Manitoba's advantage. You go to Saskatchewan and Alberta and you talk about green jobs in those provinces, sometimes you're asking people to engage in an active imagination. But when you talk about green jobs here in Manitoba, we've been doing that for 50 years. Everybody in this province knows somebody who works for Manitoba Hydro. And so for us, again, one of the challenges we face is that the previous government and really their party for 50 years hasn't built a single megawatt of electricity in our province.
So when you look at BC,
now we need to build.
So when you look at BC and how they're looking to build, they're looking to privatize. I know in the past you said you're not open to that, but would you be open to private partnerships?
I'm just giggling because I spent some time with Premier David Eby on the weekend, and I think he would. I don't think he'd agree with the characterization that they're privatizing.
Well, they've opened bidding
Hydro.
they've opened bidding to solar farms to increase their capacity. That's what they've done to private investors to increase their capacity.
Yeah, but that's not privatization.
Well, it's private companies. Like we have private companies already involved in wind and solar production right here.
Yeah.
Wind production here. St. Leon Farm, of course, is an example of it. So I'm wondering, sort of, would you look at partnerships like that to increase our capacity here? What are you looking at specifically?
I think partnering with Indigenous nations is going to be an important part of the path forward. To the substance of your question, hydro is going to always be a public utility, to the point that I was making about BC's approach as well. It's always going to be public Manitoba Hydro. We're always going to have a public utility because that's the best way to ensure that your bills remain affordable. But at the same time, when we're talking about building our economy, we're creating jobs. I think if we can move the needle on economic reconciliation and bring in Indigenous nations as partners in some of this development, then I think that's a good way to continue spreading the wealth and the economic activity in the fairest way possible, which is by creating jobs and creating opportunity for people to work.
Is there enough of a sense of urgency around this? If our plan's not coming out till the end of the year, then we need to go forward with actual builds, and other provinces are already coming ahead with putting out bids for companies to be building to increase capacity. So what's your sense of that, whether or not we're in a competitive position?
We do feel a sense of urgency, but that's why I've mentioned that the PCs have not built a single megawatt of electricity in Manitoba for 50 years. That's what puts us behind the 8 ball. So again, 7 months into the administration, we are standing up a clean electricity plan, one that I think is going to cement Manitoba's advantage to be a leader in the low carbon economy. And we're going to do it in a way that creates good jobs.
8:25 the time right now. Hydro is still leaderless. When will a new CEO be named?
Well, we got to take the time to get it right. And so there is a search process underway that's being led by the board. We've got a great board led by Ben Graham, who's also the CEO of Blue Cross here in Manitoba, somebody with extensive experience, not just in the world of finance and being a senior executive, but he also ran Manitoba Public Insurance. He knows our regulatory landscape.
Should Manitobans be concerned that no one's steering the ship right now? Do you have a timeline on that?
No, you have a great interim CEO right there. Hal Turner came up from within Manitoba Hydro. He is somebody who's well respected by the people who work at Hydro because he came from their ranks. So we actually have great leadership with the board, with the executive at Hydro right now. And when we talk about making the choice for a CEO that's going to lead us through the construction of these new generating projects, it's going to lead to the creation of more good jobs, it's going to lead to partnerships with Indigenous nations, it's important that we take the time to get this right. And I think, the pace that we're moving at with selecting a new CEO via the board is one that balances the need to get it right while also moving forward in an expeditious fashion.
8:26, Wab Kinew, the Premier of Manitoba, in studio live with us here on CBC. It is National Nurses Week. Nurses just signing a new contract. What do you want to say to them about it?
Well, I again, we're talking about parameters that we can talk about, can't talk about. I have to respect the Manitoba Nurses Union process. They're going through the process of ratifying their agreement. But what I would say is, first of all, thank you so much for everything you've done as nurses, going back years through the cuts and closures, through the pandemic, through the challenges that we see in healthcare today. I'm going to respect the process of the tentative agreement. But what I would say, and I think, the head of the Nurses Union and other leaders and I have spoken about this, we share some priorities of what we want to do around fixing healthcare. Improving things for the patient, reducing wait times, those are important goals that we're going to deliver on. And the way that we do that is by ensuring that we move towards an end to mandatory overtime, that we have better nurse-to-patient ratios in the different parts of our healthcare system. And the way we accomplish that is by hiring more staff and bringing people back to the bedside and bringing people back from the nursing agencies. And so I think that in the near future, we should have some very good tools to be able to accomplish that. So in addition to saying thank you, I just want to indicate to nurses, the help is coming. We're working hard on this, and we think that we're going to be able to turn the corner, bring more people to the bedside, and then, of course, allow you to do the thing that you have stepped up time and time again to do so well, which is care for people. And to me, saying thanks and to backing up that thanks with the action of bringing you more resources at the bedside is how we want to celebrate National Nursing Week.
In our remaining time here, I just want to switch gears completely and ask you about Mother's Day on Sunday. I mean, you made your mom part of your announcement when you became Premier of this province. How are you like your mom?
How am I like my mom?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were going to ask what we're going to do for Mother's Day. You know what? My mom is such a kind-hearted, hardworking, and beautiful person. I don't think I could ever hope to compare myself to the high standard that she set. But if I can claim any measure of the goodwill that she shows to a person on a daily basis, of the generosity and altruism that she shows, then I think I'd be in good standing. So thanks, Mom. Thanks, Lisa, my wife, and thanks to all the moms out there.
What would your mom say are your best and worst qualities?
Oh, geez. Well,
Our moms always know.
Well, my mom is a classic mom, so like the list of positive things she wants to say about me is probably going to be pretty long. And obviously, she's also going to be very sensitive and, maybe say something about, take it easy and take a break now and then. I don't know, But the main thing is she's such a huge and wonderful part of our lives. We're very lucky to live in effectively a multi-generational household, which means that not only do I get to see my mom all the time, but she also is super active with our kids and, with with my wife Lisa and our whole household. So we're just really, really lucky. And so by way of saying thanks to my mom, I want to say thanks to all moms out there.
What are you doing on Sunday?
I will be hanging out with the kiddos while Lisa gets to go to Thermia.
Nice. Thank you, Premier.
Thanks so much, Marcy.
That is the Premier of Manitoba, Wab Kinew, with our regular monthly interview. For all the stories that we mentioned, by the way, and we questioned the Premier about, you can always go to our website for more details at cbc.ca/Manitoba. I want to mention briefly that Radio Noon has their call-in today. So the call-in conversation between 12:30 and 1 o'clock this afternoon. Host Laurie Hoogstraten is, come on, pop in, Laurie. We got 15 seconds. I don't know what your question is, so pop on the mic here. I was going to fill in for you, but I realized I don't actually know what you're going to be asking about there. So what's the question today?
Well, the question is, what's a bike mayor? Because Winnipeg has a new bike mayor, and we're going to find out what that job